Coming to you from the Ultra Staff Studios in Chicago, welcome to the Staffing Buzz Network with your host, Bob Petke. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Staffing Buzz Network. I am Bob Petke. I am your host. And I'll tell you what, that intro never gets old. Hey, I'm glad that you guys are tuning in, either watching us on YouTube or listening to us on one of your favorite podcast platforms. If you're listening for the first time, don't forget to hit and subscribe to the Staffing Buzz Network. We're excited to continue our sessions here, specifically related to a very exciting event coming up here on April 23rd and 24th. As far as our organization, so yes, our company's Automated Business Designs. We have a software, an ATS, CRM, front office, back office solution. Companies like yours are using it right now. It's a fully integrated system. Everything's combined together. And as part of our commitment to the staffing community, we are part and a contributor to the Midwest Staffing Conference. Or actually, I should say to the Illinois Search and Staffing Association, which is then in a collaborative effort putting on and hosting the Midwest Staffing Conference, which is going to be April 23rd and 24th at the Drury Lane Conference Center in Oak Brook, Illinois. And what's nice about this is the location's great. There's two airports in Chicago. It's basically right in between the two. So it's easy access to get into there. And here's what I can tell you about it. It's a highly anticipated 2-day event, and it's designed for staffing professionals from all over the Midwest. Actually, people even outside the Midwest do come. But they come together, they share their expertise, they collaborate, and they learn from industry leaders. I think you still can register for the early bird if you're a member. And what you would have to do if you're an ISSA member, you would log into your membership with them. Same for WAS and MAS members. That's Wisconsin and Michigan. And you can email in with your discount code that you would have there. So it's really cool. And if you want more information on it, if you're just kind of tuning in and you're trying to feel it all out and you're not a member of any of those things, you can email. Here's what it is: info@isssaworks.com. So this is our third installment, and we've got some more installments coming up where we are featuring some of the best in staffing when it comes to the people that are going to be sharing and speaking and talking and sharing that wealth of knowledge. So I am excited today to bring to the stage Lauren B. Jones. And before we get into it, Lauren, you're probably there, smile and wave. Okay.
Hello.
Hi, Lauren.
Hello.
Lauren, I'm going to talk about you a little bit, so you can smile and nod if you want, or you could stop me at any time if I get anything wrong, okay?
Okay.
So Lauren is a staffing industry titan. I love that word, titan. In the workspace of, innovation, architect, and a fierce champion of female leadership. And she's also the founder and CEO of the LEAP Advisory Partners. Earlier I said, I almost said adversity. But it's advisory. It's advisory and advisory. Maybe that's part of the advisory work that you do. But you've transformed, the company into a powerhouse in digital transformation and of workforce solutions. You've got a team of experts that are, in the business processes and automation. And you are guiding organizations through technical evolution. And we're going to talk about that. I know you're a sought-after speaker. You've got a tremendous presence on LinkedIn. I also know that you've worked with some friends of mine as a co-author on Together We Rise. Yeah. And like I said, you've got that tremendous LinkedIn, brand, which is phenomenal. And, really, you are, as far as our industry goes with staffing, you are one of, if not the top, or one of the top, you probably won't say top, a woman and an influencer, which is phenomenal. So welcome.
Thank you.
To the Staffing Buzz Network.
You make me sound so much cooler than I am. So thank you.
No, that's awesome. And this Together We Rise was there was a tremendous following in this industry, and you made a lot of headway in kind of really just recognizing, that specific segment, that the women influences and what they bring to the table. And talk to us a little bit about that, and maybe even what's next with that powerhouse group of women.
Sure. Yeah, we definitely started a movement, if not just a sneakers movement. We we definitely started a women's, supporting women movement, which I think has been exceedingly meaningful. We have book number 2 coming out this year. We hope to release at Staffing World in the fall. And that's what we're working towards. We're all working on our drafts right now. We have a big writing event in March. So we're really excited about book number 2. But book number 1, it's so serendipitous is the right word for it, in that, Leslie Vickery had put together a dinner at SIA. It was March of 2020. And I had opened my firm on March 2nd of 2020. I know, cue laughter now, but she had scheduled a dinner. And if my memory serves me correctly, SIA was going to be on March 9th. And, I was getting ready to open my firm. And so she had put this, really cool table of leaders together, female leaders. And, I had 18 appointments scheduled down there. I was like, nobody's going to see me coming. Like this is, my business is just going to come out like a rocket. Right. And then, of course, we all know what happened, kind of a week later, SIA was canceled, 14 days later, the world shut down. And what became of that is, rather than going to dinner, we said, why don't we hop on a Zoom call? Joyce Russell had Cherry on Top coming out, and we wanted to celebrate her and celebrate her book. And so, we all got on a Zoom call, and like everybody else in the world was getting on Zoom calls. And, we had, I don't know, it was this kind of really cool connection. And we said, well, why don't we kind of come together every month as like a book club? And kind of the Lady Leaders Book Club was born, created a logo and everything, just because, I'm a super nerd, and we created a little, LinkedIn private group, and we started bringing female authors to the table. And, what's funny is we're all a bunch of high achieving women, very competitive, and, not to be outdone with one another. We had Erica Keswin, Gay Gaddis, a Dr. Stephanie, I'm forgetting her last name. We started having these just powerhouse female authors coming to the book club. And one of them was Michelle Prince, who also owns a publishing company. And Michelle Prince came and she said, you guys have the coolest story. And, I got to tell you, you hear all of this where you can't create culture or connection, remotely. And we did remote yoga. We did a remote cooking class. We, it wasn't just a book club anymore. It became so much more than that. And, you had CEOs navigating a global pandemic for the first time. And, nobody knew what the hell we were doing. And when Michelle came and we were talking about her book, it was, again, kind of a kismet conversation. She said, you guys should write a book. This is such a cool story as to how you guys have come together. And, I think we all kind of shrugged it off. And then a couple of us got to thinking, and we were like, yeah, we should write a book. Like, we should come together and show women how, when we can come together. My first 3 customers were lady leaders. When I started when I started my business, Joyce Russell, Ronna Driggs, and Leslie Vickery were my first 3 customers. And, we just knew how much we were able to achieve when the 15 of us came together. And we thought, hey, this could be contagious. And sure enough, it very much was. You now have the 8 They're a derivative or sort of an offshoot of the first scholarships that we were able to sponsor. They've created their own little group, and they've had merchandise out, and so it's just this collective with this idea that women supporting women is far more effective than women versus women.
Yeah, it's amazing. Yeah, that Lady Leaders rings a bell. Joni had been on the Staffing Buzz Network, and we had talked if they ever do another book, to have her on. Maybe we can have you both on as we get closer to the fall.
Heck
To talk
yeah.
about that, right? That'd be
Oh
phenomenal.
yeah.
And we could even have a whole panel. We could have one of these Zoom call type
Sure.
panels and do it. But you're gonna have to count me out of the yoga.
The remote yoga.
Yeah.
It was
No,
fun.
so Lauren, you're a busy lady, right? I mean, you are, you've built your brand, you built your career, and it's here, and it's good to talk about it, right? I mean, it's if it was easy, anybody can do it, and it's not, and you have, and I'm just going to recognize that right out of the gate. But let's also talk about what got you here, right? If we look at your resume, we talk about staffing, we talk about serendipitous moments. And you have, to get to this point, you've been entrenched in staffing, and the way that I word it is, if there was a theme song for people in staffing, it would be "It's a Small World After All." You know that one? It's a small
Yeah, of
world.
course.
Now I've got everybody thinking that for the rest of the day, because it only takes that much. But I know you and I, we had some overlap. I think there was a time where we overlapped with select staffing, but you worked prior to that. There was some things that kind of brought Remedy in with select staffing. And in one of the last jobs I had in staffing is I was a director of the franchisees for the sales side.
Yes.
But so it's, again, serendipitous. It's a small world after all. We all know each other, or what is it? The 6 degrees of separation of Lauren B. Jones.
Yeah, the Kevin Bacon theory of staffing,
Absolutely.
right? Like, yeah, for sure.
So talk to us a little bit about how your staffing career evolved over time, eventually leading you to be the founder of Leap Advisory Partners.
Well, that's a tale.
Yeah.
So I was a musician by education and by profession, before I got a real job, right? So I was fresh out of school. I was still, gigging, and I sang with the symphony at night. And then, I had a good Southern grandmother who the only job she ever did have was with Kelly Girl, when it was actually called Kelly Girl.
My mom
right?
was a Kelly Girl. Yeah.
I know. And, I was fresh out of school, and I needed a day job, right? And so I worked for a pharmaceutical company. And it just so happened that one week I wasn't paid, and just a clerical error. And the Kelly Services sales rep showed up, and we kind of had an immediate connection. I'll never forget her name, Debbie Pezos. She's since retired, but we became kind of immediate friends. And when the pharmaceutical company I was working for shut down, she offered me this opportunity to come and recruit. I had no idea what I was getting into. But, I was still gigging at night and, kind of working during the day. And I immediately fell in love with the industry. And I kind of got known for the big stuff. Like, if you needed 1,000 people, I was your girl. I was like the Pied Piper. I'm not really sure how I was able to collect thousands of people. But, I got really good at volume. And so my very, very first big gig was Novell Brain Share right before Y2K. I'm totally dating myself right now. 1,200 people. And so I got good at the big stuff. And then I transferred from Utah to California. I worked for the Office of the President for Johnson & Johnson. That was all volume, and which was a subsidiary of DePuy Orthotech, was a subsidiary of Johnson & Johnson. And then I, kind of like, I was recruited away from Kelly to go work for Remedy. And I worked for a Remedy, which is now EmployBridge today, for 11 years. Joni Biley and I crossed paths there.
Sure.
and then I was recruited away from, what at the time was Select Remedy, recruited away from there to Volt. And then, I hadn't had, my only career, my only job in life has been, in staffing. And I've kind of worked my way up from, temp to recruiter to leader to, all sorts of things, and sort of worked every role. And then about 13 years, maybe 12 or 13 years ago, I was running a really successful region here in Northern California. And I had already figured out some very clever ways to apply what technology was available.
Sure.
To create efficiencies and profitability. And so when Volt went to go from a homegrown system to a software as a service platform, I was tapped on the shoulder to be a part of that decision-making, executive team. And that therein started sort of my obsession with all things staffing tech, work tech, HR tech, and became sort of obsessed with the idea that, this could really change the way that we do things. And that this really healthy combination of good tech, good strategy, good communication, good change management and adoption, could all be really worth something.
Sure. Yeah.
And so, I did that. I left. I went to a smaller firm, which I had no experience in kind of small firms, and which taught me so much. A small winery staffing firm here in Northern California taught me invaluable lessons about how much the small business owner or family business owner, goes through. And I built their tech stack and the operation around it. And then I went back to Volt. One thing I didn't have on my experience was, or on my resume, was global experience. And so kind of went back and extended that tech stack, trying to get, sort of one line of tech across the, Asia Pacific and UK. And I ended up as an early layoff casualty of the pandemic. And, I in all reality, the first time I left Volt was when I was just very, very frustrated, tired of corporate bureaucracy, right? I.e., I went to a smaller firm, less red tape, right?
Yep.
And it was noisy, it was sluggish, it was frustrating, and I don't play politics very well because I kind of just tell you what I think, and that's not very popular in a boardroom, if we're being honest.
Yeah.
And so I was already frustrated. And so when I went back, I ended up being, laid off again as an early casualty of the pandemic. And at that point, I was just done. I was done. I didn't have the luxury of having some really great female leadership in my last position. And I was, I guess, a little disenchanted, I guess is a good word. And I decided at that point I had the financial runway to, do my own thing. And I just decided on March 2nd of 2020, I was going to do my own thing. And I was so excited and thought, I was going to change the world. And, obviously the end of the story is we're, here today as a growing influential firm. But, I did spend all of March crying, drooling on myself in the corner going, what have I done? Because,
Sure.
A global pandemic hit and you had, but the good news is at that point you had, we've always been sort of a laggardly industry when it pertains to technology. And so at that point you had light industrial firms that hadn't digitized. You had IT and engineering firms that never done an online interview. So there's just, so much need at that point for these little transformative changes. And that's where it all began. And we started helping firms get current. And then, started doing more and more. And now, we do the one thing I did right. I did a lot of things wrong. There's a whole podcast episode for that. But the one thing I did right was I knew what our 3 pillars were going to be from the very beginning: build, change, adopt. We were going to help agencies build their tech stacks from an agnostic, neutral point of view. We were going to help them with business process and change. And then we were going to help them with training and adoption. So build, change, adopt. Those are the three things that we do. We still stay super focused on that. And we try and help businesses scale excellently with the technology that supports their business. So yeah, I mean, that's the one thing I did right was build, like from the beginning, it's been build, change, adopt.
So we'll talk more about that here in a second. So two takeaways for me, besides the tremendous content as far as build, change, adapt. We're going to talk a little bit about AI, but two takeaways for me from that. So Jennifer's my producer. She sits across from me. Just about every call or every podcast I do, I talk about, did you choose staffing or did staffing choose you? You're just one more example of somehow somebody grabbed you and chose you. Like I always say, you weren't a little girl putting your brothers and sisters and friends and neighbors on assignments only for them not to show up.
Nope.
You didn't study it in high school or college, and here you are. And my other question for you is, well, you said this is the end, the end of the story. We know that's not the case. Who's going to play you in the movie?
I don't know. That's a good question.
We'll collaborate more when I see you in March on that at the executive forum.
Yeah, I don't know. I get the only lookalikes I ever get are Sarah Rue and Drew Barrymore. So maybe one of those.
I say let's send make sure they get a link to this, and we'll kind of, they already know the story if they watch it. So
yeah, for sure.
That's awesome. So we're excited as part of the ISSA in the Midwest Staffing Conference to have you there again, April 23rd and 24th. And you're going to come in and you're going to bring in, and I believe you have two sessions. Mm-hmm. And the first session that you have is Supercharge Your Agency with AI. And just to kind of give a brief, maybe one or two sentences from what the description is, and I'd like you to talk more about it. Unlocking, the transformative potential of AI in this dynamic and highly rated workshop. And it's going to be designed specifically for staffing professionals. So, people are going to be able to discover real world applications of AI and how it can revolutionize, the agency operations. Let's talk about that. And again, and I've seen it as well. Like sometimes, people think staffing is, it's been around. Kelly Girl, Western Girls, which became West Staff at some point. I mean, this has been going on forever. And people think, hey, apply a job, find them a job, have them go to work and show up. But there are things now that exist that we never could have even fathomed, and AI being a big part of that. Mm-hmm. Talk about your session and maybe even a little bit about what people might be able to get out of it and why they want to come.
Well, first of all, I love the team that's put together this conference. Laura, and the entire Lance, the entire group has been awesome. I'm so honored to come back. And this will be my third year keynoting on AI. And what I continue to be sort of amazed by is that, how slow we are to adopt this. And, I don't know if your listeners follow politics or anything like that, but if you listen to our Vice President JD Vance's speech in France about AI and the job creation and the essentially superpowers that we can enable human beings with. This is not a replacement. This is an enhancement, and when applied appropriately and correctly, can be exceedingly life-changing and agency-changing. And, never in my career has there been this inflection point where the $1 million firm and the $1 billion firm have access to the same technology at the same price.
Well put.
This is the great equalizer. And so what I want people to do, and what I'm finding challenging, is get started. There are 3 steps to getting started: policy, education, enablement. Like, start there, put a policy together, empower and educate your people properly on the responsible usage of these tools, and then empower them to go forth and conquer. But to just ignore what I am telling you is the inevitable, will be to the detriment and the downfall of your business. And
Yeah.
I don't say that to be a doomsdayer at
No.
all. I say that to say, get on board, because it's not slowing down. As a matter of fact, it's accelerating. And it can be a very, very powerful tool to scale your organization much faster than you ever anticipated.
No, yeah, I agree 100%. And it's funny, we talk about tech stack, and again, this isn't about us as an organization, but I think it's a good, we our software is UltraStaff Edge, and we have AI. I mean, it's part of what we do. From the simple things of building resumes to building job descriptions, eventually being able to take orders from an email and putting them through AI and using ChatGPT and getting that stuff in. What it does, and I love that you said it, Lauren, is it's not going to eliminate people's positions. It's going to enhance their ability to do some things. And there's an old term that they used to use. This guy Ron Popeil used to have these infomercials: "Set it and forget it" technology.
Mm-hmm.
And I think in part, with some of the automations that are in place, but in addition to just basic utilization of AI, people in the staffing world are going to have the ability to spend more time with their candidates, their people on assignment, with their existing customers, QBRs, and meetings, and even more important, or equally important, it all depends, out and driving new business.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's about efficient, right? And to your point, have the policy, enable the people, empower them, let them go and do their thing.
Right.
Your next session is going to be talking about, and again, kind of maybe a segue to it, but making sure that you're optimizing your technology investments,
Yes.
maximizing the value of your technology. Talk to us about that, and what people are going to be able to take home from that.
Yeah. So, I'll give you just a little bit of a story.
Yeah.
We do we have two sort of packages. We have a lot of service packages, but two primary ones that we offer. One is an optimization package, and one is a transformation package. Right? One is, I'm ready to blow up the world and move beyond this technology, or I've grown out of it, or it's not working. Whatever the situation might be, or not. I know I'm not using the technology to its fullest extent. And so, help us come in and optimize. And we had 5 customers beginning of last year that came to us, all 5 of them saying, we want a transformation, right? Well, 3 out of 5 of those ended up being optimization exercises. They didn't need new technology. They needed to use what they had effectively. And for example, one of them was in Job Diva. They weren't using Diva Reach, Diva Match, the Diva Bot. There was so much there that was going and if I'm going to, support you in disrupting the business, because digital transformation is disruptive, we do everything that we can to, what we call minimum financial disruption when we do a change like that. But, it is disruptive, but it doesn't have to be like that, right? Like we can take what you already have and make it better. And so you have to weigh the cost of disruption, and you have to weigh the change. Remember, we're dealing with human beings. Change fatigue is real, right? And so if you don't have to change, because it is an expensive decision, it stands to reason that we can sort of relook at where you are, and make a determination. Do you actually need to make that investment, or do you just need to invest the time and effort into using what you already have? I want you blowing the wheels off of what you got before we're considering a transformation exercise.
No, and again, on point, 100%. I mean, we see it all the time, it being in that tech stack world. But as we go through this process, right, and you're going to be meeting, you're going to have these 2 sessions, what do you think, and maybe you could summarize what your ultimate message is when people walk away, they're going to have something they didn't have before. Although people say it's all been said and done, and maybe it's the way you present it, but what are the 1 or 2 big takeaways that people should expect And if we're going to back into it, why do people want to come in and listen to you?
So on the AI front, if you're not sure where to start, come see me. Like that,
Okay.
you're going to walk away from that masterclass with core competencies in AI. And that's exactly what we want. And then on the optimization, I am interrogating and sending you off with a list of things to, again, interrogate the idea that I need something new, right? Do you, or do you really need to look at your business process? Because that's what's broken, not actually your ATS or CRM. Do you need a brand new system, or let's challenge that idea? And do you need to re-roll out the technology you already have because it's just not being leveraged? Or, a gap analysis. I'll walk away with a potential gap analysis, because it's one of four things only, ever. And I will make that profound, finality statement is one of four things. It is either a process gap, it is an optimization gap, it's a training gap, or it's an actual technology gap, right? And so we like to do things, kind of like, here's your quick wins. Here's what you could do for free tomorrow and make an impact that would impact the bottom line. Here's the short-term gains. Here's a little bit of investment and a little bit of time to get X gain, and then long-term strategy, right? And those, you need to have three things every year. And so this is kind of the optimization exercise is that three things every year. You put your financial forecast together, right? You put your budget together for the year. Why isn't that aligned to an operational roadmap, right? How do you want to grow the organization operationally? And then in line with that should be your technology roadmap, right? Those two things are connected. If you're going to change something operationally, are you digitizing something, or are you taking a manual process and applying a digital worker to it? What does that look like? And then you need a change roadmap aligned to that, right? So it's no longer are we in a space and time where just a financial forecast is going to keep you competitive throughout the year.
No, well put. And I think people are going to really benefit from it. It's so relevant, so on point. Your message, the timing is perfect, right? And, we are in an ever-changing, ever-evolve. I mean, who would have thought 5, let alone 10 years ago, that we would see a world with the technology power that we have today?
I know.
So, let me ask you this. So kind of the last kind of question for you. You've got all this staffing experience, you've put yourself in this space and place where you're now, taking all of that knowledge gained, and you're taking new things, and you're staying up, on relevant topics. If I gave you a crystal ball, and instead I've got, these are our little mascots. These are Edgy. If I gave you a crystal Edgy that can help you kind of look at the future, and watch this guy, his eyes come out here. Oh. You can get this at the Midwest Staffing Conference. We'll have these available. We're going to get you one. What is maybe one thing, and if you got more, I'm not going to stop you, but what is one thing that you can share today that you would want to make sure that the staffing community is aware of, and they can even start to implement it now? And, a year from now, this change is going to have a positive impact. In other words, they might be listening to this podcast in addition to coming to the Midwest Staffing Conference, and there's something there. We may have hit on it, and that's okay. Or maybe it's something that it's not, part of the general conversation. But what is something, if you can offer some advice to somebody, that if they can tweak their business, that a year from now, they're going to be like, yeah, man, I remember when Lauren B. Jones, and the B stands for B at the Midwest Staffing Conference.
Yes, certainly does.
What is one thing that you think you could share with somebody? And again, if you got more, have at it.
Yeah. So I always say there's one statement that will fundamentally, or one question that will fundamentally change your organization if you can ingrain it in your people. And I'm going to give you two, just simple ones. right? I'm going to give you two simple ones. I'm not even going to go down well, it's AI adjacent, right? So the first one is, who else do you know, right? We're not very good at that. We just aren't. And when you're a recruiter talking to a candidate, who else do you know that's amazing like you? When you're a salesperson talking to a customer, who else do you know within your organization that might be able to benefit from our services? If it's, a prospect, who else do you know that I should be talking to that's just like you? It's who else do you know? And we just don't do that really well. We just don't. We close the loop on the conversation and we hang up and we move on to next agenda item. And that's just not how this business has grown. So if there was one question I would have you just ingrain in the lifeblood of your people, it's who else do you know, in every capacity. And if you can, do that for 365 days religiously, I promise you it'll make a difference. And then the other one is what gets in your way. And that's exactly how I'm sort of rallying firms to embrace AI, is what gets in your way every day. That is the perfect thing to apply a digital worker or an AI agent or automation. That is the perfect thing to apply those tools to. And if you can start, again, asking yourself that question every single day, what gets in my way? That will help you figure out where AI will be closest to the dollar for you. If you're always asking that question, what gets in your way? Is it a process getting in your way? Is it people getting in your way? Is it, what is that thing? And once we break down that thing and we figure out how to either apply technology or good process or training or optimization to it, right? Then you are on the road to continual excellence.
No, it's great. Things in your way, right? I think about on my way home from work, if the bridge is out, I've got to figure out a way to get around it. I've got to figure out a solution. And I do use technology in the form of my GPS to get me there. Mm-hmm. Same rules apply. Something's in your way. There's going to be technology tools and different things like that, AI for sure, that can help you navigate that. And then you're just going to come over the next one that's going to get in your way, right? Because we live in that world where there's always something. Lauren, it's been a pleasure. We are so excited to have you at the Midwest Staffing Conference. I know you'll also be at the Executive Forum. So if people are listening to that and going to both, make sure that they get a chance to see you as well. It's been a pleasure having you on. This is your first, hopefully, of other visits here on the Staffing Buzz Network. And we look forward to seeing you really soon.
Thank you, Bob. It was a ball. Thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely. Thank you. Likewise. All right. Lauren B. Jones. Like I said, the B stands for B at the Midwest Staffing Conference, April 23rd, April 24th. Email info@isssaworks.com to go ahead and find out information. If you're a member of ISSA or WAS or MAS, go ahead and you can talk to your organizations about that. You can log into your systems to do that. You can simply do a search on Midwest Staffing Conference 2025 and pull up some information there. So great to have Lauren on. Really just she has a strong presence in this industry, and she's somebody who's relevant. Her message is going to be relevant to staffing people, even though she's not she's not in staffing. She's the blood, sweat, and tears is there, and I think that often gives instant credibility for people, because we like to talk to people that are like-minded, people that we like and people that we trust. So with that said, I am Bob Petke. Remember, we are Automated Business Designs. Our software is called Ultra Staff Edge. It's a great tech stack solution. Maybe one day Lauren will talk to you about that as well. But until next time, we look forward to seeing you here on the Staffing Buzz Network.